I'm Jane Applegath. This is the Epic Vision Zone where bold ideas meet extraordinary leaders. What if innovation meant skipping the franchise playbook and rewriting the rules for logistics? And what if one man's mission to clean up clutter became a movement that's cleaning up the world? Greg Workman is the visionary founder and CEO of LoadUp, a company that's quietly transforming the $10 billion junk removal industry by turning trash into tech. Serving 50 states, LoadUp's proprietary logistics platform connects customers with local loaders in real time using AI and transparent upfront pricing to create an experience that's as efficient as it is fair. Unlike traditional franchise models, Greg's built LoadUp from the ground up with one bold principle: don't follow trends, create your own normal. Today, he has become known as disrupting an entire industry. What truly sets LoadUp apart, though, is its purpose. Beyond the innovation tech and rapid growth, Greg's mission is to use business as a force for good, funding global missions and community impact with every haul. Beyond removing junk, Upload redefines what service, scale, and purpose look like in a modern business built on innovation and heart. Their business model shows others why purpose fuels innovation and how every load up haul is helping fund global missions that make a real difference. Welcome, Greg. Thank you for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jane, for having me on. Excited to be here.
Well, likewise, we're excited to learn about this disruption that you're causing, and let's get started. So, I'm really interested in your concept of turning trash into tech, and that's such a bold vision. What inspired you to start LoadUp and become the distributor of such an unlikely industry? Excuse me, the disruptor of such an unlikely industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually was working a couple different corporate jobs out of college. I had a couple of startups that I was working on, and while I was working for one of my big corporate jobs, I actually saw a need for just transparency in the junk removal space and even the broader waste industry. Junk removal is just a subsegment of the waste industry. And the incumbents in the space are all franchise run. And there was a lot of transparency issues with how to get a price. What are you actually going to pay when you try to get rid of a heavy, bulky item or do a whole home clean out? That's typically not handled by a waste company that does your regular trash collection. They're not insured for that kind of thing. They don't want to do that type of work. And the franchises, they were all founded in the 80s under a
Hmm.
model that was predicated on let us come out and look at your junk, we'll load it onto the truck, and then we're going to tell you what it costs.
Hmm.
So I saw an opportunity there. Why can't this be simple? You think about something like a mattress, they're all uniform sized. You could put up a website. You could pre-price those mattresses for removal, allow the customer to pay up front. There's no guesswork involved. And that's essentially what I did. I started with mattresses specifically just because it's such a high demand item that does fit that sort of catalog e-com model. And I've launched a website in Atlanta 11 years ago to do just that. And fast forward today, now we do way more than just that mattress pickup. We can do literally anything and everything under the sun, junk removal related. And it's all based off of how do we give a transparent price upfront to the consumer so they know exactly what they're going to pay without any guesswork.
Hmm. That's amazing. So I'm now curious. Then on your website, do you have all different kinds of items, or like, let's say you have a whole house clean out.
Mhm.
You got the mattresses, then you've got your dining table, your chairs, whatever it might be. Is that, how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a proprietary booking system that we've developed in house, and it can handle all of your specific items like what you just detailed. So if you had a dining room set, you can go easily select that. It's all
Mm,
searchable through through the booking system. But then when you get into these bigger jobs where it's a whole home clean out, that process can become cumbersome trying to do item by item. So we have a couple different ways that we can price larger jobs. Um, and AI really has come into the fold there. How we have been pricing those jobs is it's a human getting on the phone with a customer, asking for
Mm.
photos, going through more of a manual process. Still upfront, still know what you're going to pay before we ever come out on site, but not super efficient, a lot of back and forth. So one of the things that we're working on right now is refining of an AI image recognition model where we can
Mm.
have the customer upload that, we can recognize what's in the photos, and we can pre-price the job just based off of photo recognition. Alternatively, we can also enable a consumer to chat with an AI bot that can do the same without a photo.
Right. Yeah. Wow, this is just, you are really, and you say you started this a number of years ago and implementing now the advantages that AI provides for different industries. So amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that information because, that's how my brain goes. I'm like, okay, that sounds great for mattresses. So how does it work? But okay, well, maybe this segues into our question then, which are the challenges. What was the biggest obstacle in building your proprietary platform and how did you overcome the challenges when others doubted the idea?
Yeah, that's great, and I'll focus on people doubting the idea.
Right.
Um, the idea wasn't a new idea; it was a new idea for the industry. I really
Mm.
replicated what was already being done with Uber, Lyft. There were some other tech-enabled platforms that were focused on moving, but not necessarily junk removal. And one of the common themes that I ran into with getting buy-in from other people was, you know, what is unique about this? All these tech platforms, they don't make any money because at the time, Uber and Lyft, they weren't making any money. They were in massive amounts of debt, trying to become profitable businesses. So that was probably the biggest headwind that I had
Mhm.
coming out of the gate. And what I focused on and how I overcame that was just being super capital efficient out of the gate, very cognizant of how we spent, how we positioned ourselves in the market, rather than trying to hit a grand slam and do everything under the sun for people. We focused on something extremely niche and identified, we can be super capital efficient by just being the best in the world at doing mattress pickups across the country.
Mm.
Nobody was focusing on it at the time. The cost for acquisition on Google was really low at the time. And that also opened up the doors for us to uh, acquire big national partners that were sort of at the same stage. So a couple of
Mhm.
companies like Casper and Lisa that sell a mattress in a box. They were some of our early national customers that helped us really grow the company for the first 5 years.
Mm.
So really that capital efficiency and being really smart about how we positioned ourselves in the market. Because I knew that if we could prove ourselves in one niche, it would open up the ability to go after bigger, more broad things rather than trying to
Mm.
be broad.
Right off the bat. Yeah. I love that.
Mhm.
Certainly that is true in life and in business. Start with a small step. And,
Mhm.
from every small step, then you begin to grow and expand. And the vision that you had, I mean, like you said, possibly, there were investors and others that you had to convince. But, by starting with that particular market, I could see where they would say, yeah, okay, I buy that. I could see where you could make money at that particular area. And the fact that, now I'm curious, did you use AI to, you said you Googled it, but the mattress pickup industry wasn't really, no one had honed in on that. Did you use AI to help you with that? Or did you just kind of knew in the back of your mind that, oh, we should start with mattresses?
It was more intuition led at the time. AI wasn't even a thing. That was incorporated. Okay, we're talking 11 and a half, 12 years ago at this point,
Right. Right.
when I really identified that niche. So it was really just
Okay.
intuition led and just observing the market.
Okay, so now you're perfectly positioned to take advantage of the big picture. Wow. That's the universe, man. It came to you and you knew it and you just started where you needed to start, but now you're ready to just come right out of that gate. I love it. Well, who were your role models and mentors, and how did you influence them or they influence you?
Yeah, so I think it kind of goes both ways. Pretty tight knit family growing up, a family of entrepreneurs. Honestly, my
Mm,
mom started a business. My dad, he ran his own business that he started in the '80s. So I kind of got to grow up in a home environment that was very entrepreneurial, pave your own path. Uh, to some of the detriment, school wasn't a huge emphasis in our household. It was more about practical ways to make money and work hard. So I got to grow up in that environment. So that was a huge blessing. So
mm,
my dad was a big mentor of mine, and then my older brother as well, huge mentor. He's been incredibly successful in business, and both of them have, and both of them are still involved in the business today. My brother sits on our board, and then my dad, he's actually a part owner of the company, although a silent owner. He was one of the original investors in the company. Um, and so, I've been able to draw a lot from them over the years, and I've incorporated new mentors that have been able to pour into me and the company within the last 3 4 years that aren't family. But yeah, finding people that just really, without being paid to do so, they're going to
mm,
pour into you. Like that's been the biggest value because there's no money influence. It's really just genuine. They want to see you succeed.
mm. That is a great example, Greg, of surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. And like you said, you're fortunate enough to have family that does that. Because let's face it, a lot of people, they'll have these innovative ideas, but their families are the ones that say, you know what, you should get a real job. Or,
Hmm.
you're crazy. Don't do that. What if you lose everything? And I know it comes from a heart place because they want to keep you safe, and they want to make sure that you can take care of yourself as you get older. But I mean, innovation and when you've got that mindset, and of course when you're surrounded by it in your family, I mean, that is just a blessing. And like
Yeah.
you said, you've got others that are pouring into you. But yeah, that is such a blessing. And of course nowadays, they're saying that having the degrees and whatnot, that's not where it's all at. It's that people are coming out on their own very young, and they're giving a second thought to spending all that money on an education that's not going to get them where they need to go. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, your family was
Yep.
ahead of the game for sure. For sure.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
you may have already answered this question. You could tell me if that's the case, but I have you here as the disruptor. And what were the novel ways that you are using AI to load up the company
Mhm.
and disrupting the industry? Because I know, like in the intro, it says that it's been a $10 billion industry and around for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah. So, how are we the disruptor in the space? We're the first mover in the industry to do a two-sided marketplace that was similar to bringing Uber-esque to the industry. So, with that, I think it's just in our DNA as a company. It's part of our culture. We're going to be on the leading edge of whatever new technology has been released that's available to us. So it's more about a culture in the company and how we've been able to implement some new technologies with AI being incorporated. One of the things I mentioned was image recognition. That's a huge thing that's still being worked on and refined. And as those image recognition models get smarter, we'll be able to incorporate more of it into our business, but it's not always the massive home run where we're seeing a lot of the AI pickup. It's little efficiency gains here and there where
Mm,
we see a lot of impact from AI. So things like qualifying phone calls, voice AI has come a long way. We incorporate some voice AI just depending on what the use case is, and it helps qualify calls so that we're not wasting human effort on somebody that maybe could be solved really simply with voice AI.
Mm.
Um, and we're not trying to solve everything for the customer using voice AI, just bits and pieces where it makes sense. Same goes for the written communication that we receive. So SMS is a huge channel for us. We field, I can't even count how many text messages in a given week, but we've been able to incorporate AI into that to just pick up our overall efficiency so that we can allow our humans here in the office to focus on the highest level tasks possible rather than having to deal with a
Mm.
lot of tasks that could otherwise
Right.
be simply answered or offloaded with AI.
Right. Yeah, I could see where that would be a great advantage in house for sure. Do you ever get any pushback on the other end from your customers, like the human experience, seeing as it in the older days, let's say, service centered experience? How do you balance that cutting edge tech with maintaining that connection with your customers?
Yeah, I think it's keeping a tight pulse on which channels are we letting it go too far without a human connection. And it's been a learning experience. As with anything new, you got to
Mm.
experiment. And I think in those experiments, we noticed pretty quickly that like people were getting mad because
Mm.
it wasn't doing what it was intended to do. So we had to keep a tight pulse on, which use case are we deploying this to, and which use cases it makes sense to continue doing this versus discontinue, or maybe there's a halfway in between where we need to intervene and have a human come in.
Mm.
So definitely keep a tight pulse on it. Humans, as soon as they figure out that it's a robot, they're not super happy. Um, up to an extent, especially if there's an issue that's urgent. We found that that doesn't work so well. That just ignites the flame.
Yeah, I think we've all been there with the machine. It's like, I don't want to talk to a machine, I want a human because we're getting very emotional. And it's like, okay. And of course, then who wants to be the person calling that one back because you're like, okay, they're already in a bad mood. But I mean, is
Exactly.
that talking about mistakes? What are some, I mean, you may have answered that too. What are some of, is there other mistakes that you've learned from along the way here? I mean, this is great for
Sure.
individuals, that are up and coming and thinking of doing a business, not, well, similar to yours, but using AI in their business.
Yeah, yeah. What you talking about from the lens of just AI, or just more
Yeah.
broadly? What mistakes?
Broadly or the lens of AI, it doesn't matter.
Well, I can kind of answer both. With AI, it's not going to be the day one perfect solve. I think we figured that out. Um, it can be, but it's a very iterative process. So if you think that you're like going to start a business and incorporate AI and AI is going to do everything, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because you got to be really
Mm.
strategic about how you implement it. It does still require a lot of human intervention to oversee how it's interacting with the business. So that's definitely been a mistake that we made. We kind of went all in on AI with it trying to do too much, and we had to reel all that back. Um, and we spent significant amounts of time implementing and standing all those solutions up. So I'd say that was probably the first learning just from the AI lens. And then growing a business, I think the one of the key principles that I've had to learn is doing more does not equal growth. Uh,
Mm.
Doing strategic, smart moves grows the business. So it can be fun and exciting to come up with a new idea every week that's going to be the game changer. 90% of them fail. And I
Mm.
think back over the course of history with the company, um, there's a number of features or things that we tried to go pursue. In hindsight, if we had never pursued them, the company would probably be double or triple what it is today, just because
Hmm.
there's an opportunity cost associated with anything you try to
Right.
go do that's a new initiative. And the bigger the company gets, the more opportunity
Yeah.
cost is associated with that opportunity that you're
Right.
chasing down. So those were some of the key mistake learnings that I've had over the course of
Hmm.
the company's existence.
Thank you, Greg. That is great insight. I mean, be strategic in your growth and your opportunity. I love that you call it the opportunity cost, because like you said, you get excited, you're a young company, you got the flexibility to do different things, but is that, we need to sit down and work out how much it's going to cost and weigh the profit or loss or whatever it might be. But yeah, that's a great reminder for everyone who's, implementing a business today. And, because there are so many opportunities. We've got a world that's just changing by the day, especially with this AI. And I get excited about learning more about them. And then I'm like, okay, uh, for one, I get a little overwhelmed, but two, it's like, that would be a great idea to use. And no, I don't know about that. Because, yeah, like a kid in a candy store, right? You, yeah, you
Yep.
can get carried away. Absolutely. Well,
Right. Right.
I love that you have a mission, and I think this is really, really something that today's, it called conscious capitalism. Most companies, measure success and profit and growth, but LoadUp also measures impact from local communities to global missions. How did
Mhm.
purpose become part of your business in your DNA, and how do you give back?
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't always the case. When we first started out, it was all about running and growing the business to try to make money and all those good things. And really, when I started the company, everybody's a different person when they're 10 years looking 10 years back. And just as I evolved as a leader, I came to a realization that I really wanted the company to be more than just a money making machine, but also
Mm-hmm.
have a high impact. You know, at the local level, but then wherever we are, whatever areas of the country or the globe that we are touching, we wanted to have impact and purpose beyond just making money. So about 4 years ago, we implemented a partnership with a company called or an organization called Plant with Purpose. And what they do is they set up sustainable um, basically farms and crops in third world countries, and they
Mm-hmm.
fund the planting of those crops and or reforestation, so that it's more than just planting a tree, it's also a human centric mission. And they do church plants along with it, and they create a whole self-sustaining ecosystem based off of the mission. And we were very strategic about partnering with a faith aligned organization with us. So it's been a great partnership. We don't do a whole lot hands on with them. A lot of it is more, we're contributing a portion of all of our sales to that organization. But then we do things at the local level as well. We have community days that we go participate in. And I think, if you're if your primary mission isn't internally at your company with your people, you're probably not doing it right. So that's also part of our purpose, is really pouring into our people, making sure that their families are aligned with our purpose, and that we're taking care of our folks internally first before those secondary cultural impact things that are external.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I know it provides you're cultivating pride within your company and within your
Mhm.
industry. In an industry that's often associated with junk, you know, um, you have cultivated a sense of pride amongst your team and your customers. At least that's how I feel in reading it. Do you feel that that's the case over the years? Have you felt that?
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of pride in being a disruptor, but then go a layer beneath that, and I think the culture that you have internally. People.
Yeah.
Not my idea. A lot of people have told me this, and I've probably told you this. Take care of your people, and they'll take care of the customer. But I do think that there's an element of when you're trying to do something big and different in the space, the people internally really rally around that because you're not just a copycat of what somebody else
Mm.
is already doing, and that in and of itself can create a sense of pride about the brand and the company that we're on a different trajectory. We have a different mission than what maybe our competitor is doing out in the market.
Right, right. Well, this segues actually perfectly into the question that I have for you about leadership. And, give us some insight into your leadership philosophy. I think you touched on it there, on what role failure or experimentation plays in that role. Can you share a time when there was a setback and it became a breakthrough, for example?
Yeah, I would say that we. Maybe I'll touch on the leadership part real quick. Hire great people. I think
Mm,
the the biggest mistakes that I've made was forcing hires that weren't going to be a fit just because we felt an artificial pressure to fill a role. Versus be slow to hire and make sure it's the right fit and that you're hiring somebody that's great, that is actually going to be a value add to the overall organization and that fits the purpose, that fit the core beliefs of our company, et cetera. And then you get out of the way. I set the vision, I set the culture, um, and I set the purpose. And my job is to make sure that we're driving that ball forward. But other than that, sort of get out of the way and just be an encourager, be a
mm,
peacemaker in
yeah.
the company to an extent. Sometimes you can't be the peacemaker. You have to drive the ball forward. So on the leadership piece, that kind of highlight that. And then the second part of the question, just how did a failure become something that we turned into an overcoming moment? Um, we had been working on a really big project about 3 years ago where we were going to incorporate a lead selling engine into our company for our driver market because we have a lot of people that come into our LoadUp website. They'll fill out a form. They don't necessarily transact on the website. So we had a brilliant idea to take those customer records that didn't book with us and allow our loaders out in the field to basically redeem points to get those so that they could go call them and
Right.
try to close that business on their own. Well, what ended up coming of that was a total failure out in the
No.
field. They didn't really want to buy leads and chase down business. And it really was a defining moment about who LoadUp was and what's the value that we actually bring to these folks out in the market. It's that we are a marketing and customer acquisition engine, and we really started to accept that as part of our DNA as a company. And we ended up shutting that program down. And out of that program led to basically a subscription model for our loaders because we had developed this point system to buy leads. Well, we turned it into a subscription model where our loaders who were already begging for like different access levels for priority on jobs when they were available in the market.
Right.
So it ended up turning into a money making model just in a different way that actually supported our customer acquisition DNA and
Mm,
model, what really drives this
right.
engine.
Brilliant, brilliant. I don't know who. change that, or I'm not sure if that was you or someone or a team, but how brilliant to switch that into a subscription model, because some companies or individuals just go, well heck, we'll just put that to rest, but you knew there was an acorn there. And it's just, how do we tap into it? So you gave it a try, it didn't work, but then you say, okay, let's try the subscription model. How brilliant is that? I love it. Wow, really great. Thank you for that story. It
Mhm.
just goes to show you, just because the idea didn't work doesn't mean that it can't work and that it won't work. You know, be profitable,
Right.
like you
Yeah.
said. Just let's look
Mhm.
at it from a different viewpoint. But I love that you didn't give up on it. That's something that's really key there too, for sure. So, asking you, how do you see now that technology continuing to reshape not just the junk removal industry, but the large service and logistics ecosystem in the next 5 to 10 years?
You mean as far as it relates to AI?
Yes.
How's it great things? Yeah, where I see AI really getting incorporated is just efficiency. I think there's a lot of waste just in logistics, whether that's logistics for a
Mm-hmm.
waste company like ours or logistics for a home delivery service. AI can predict certain events and can really get ahead of logistical challenges out in the field. I really see AI coming in play there. When you talk about video and image recognition as well, like it can start to compile data or issues well before a human can review the footage or
Right.
review the photo, and can flag certain things. So, you can really get ahead of issues before they become major issues. Um, and that's really a lot of what logistics is avoiding issues. It's
Right.
you're always thinking happy path. How do I get from A to B with as little friction as possible?
Right.
So I think that's what AI is really going to unlock for the broader logistics space.
Wow. Yeah. That's it's going to be pretty incredible. I mean, we're moving fast now, but it's going to be at the speed of light. I mean, it's going to be, the humans are going to have trouble keeping up with it, frankly. It's like, okay, let's do it. Anyway, yeah, I could see that happening. Well, what three pieces, Greg, of advice would you share with others that seek to shake up an industry?
Yeah. Man, first piece of advice. Well, I mean, just because it hadn't been done before doesn't mean it shouldn't be attempted. I'd say that would be the first piece of advice. Um, there is always a better way to do something than what it's being done. Um, and yeah, you gotta use your intuition and logic and just common sense to chase down some of those ideas that haven't been done before. Um, and then, I'd say that kind of ties in with number two, which is um, you're going to have a lot of naysayers, like you alluded to earlier. A lot of times, people closest to you, and you have to really be discerning of, is this person saying this because they have my best interest at heart, or is it an envy play, or yeah, I'm too scared to go do something, so I'm going to naysay what others around me are going to go do because I don't want them to, show me out, kind of thing. So there's a level of discernment in that, when you really start thinking about like going and doing something different. Um, and I think Henry Ford is credited with the saying, if I had asked the people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. Um,
Mm,
and he would have made an automobile. So, I like to think about that all the time when I'm thinking about a new idea. You know, it,
yeah.
if you're looking for buy-in from someone else, you probably won't get it. You'll get a million reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And for number three, what was the original question? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Uh,
Yeah, three
Some advice.
pieces of advice. Yeah, if someone's going to disrupt an industry.
Yeah, I would say don't wait for perfect timing either. That'd be like the number
Yeah.
three. I'm a big believer that action over words. You can sit here and pontificate all day long about this cool idea that you think you have that might be $1 billion idea. While you're pontificating over it, somebody else is already about to start doing it. Somebody
Hmm.
who is going to put it into action and go execute on it. Um, and you can start small with your idea. You don't have to necessarily quit your job and go do it, but you know, quit thinking about it and just go do it. That's sort of what I did, and it can get you into trouble if you don't have the right guardrails around that. But um, yeah, that would be my third piece of advice. Action wins at the end of the day.
Right. Yes. Be bold. Take the step.
Mm.
They said that it's not about being brave. It's about having the courage. It's stepping out of
Mm-hmm.
that box. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Those are great pieces of advice. So, give us an idea now, Greg. What would you like to share about what's next for LoadUp?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have some really exciting things that we're working on. One of the things that we always run everything through is ease of use for anybody on our platform. So that is our core focus from a strategy standpoint. Is we're just focused on making this the easiest experience anybody can have in the industry, and we have some really exciting things that are coming down the pipe with um, being able to book services with LoadUp. Um, I'm not sure how familiar you are with ChatGPT and
Yeah.
Claude and some of these other platforms, but they are changing the way that commerce is about to happen. And
Mm.
we're positioning ourselves to take full advantage of that. No longer will people just go to Google and say, "Hey, junk removal near me." It's going to be, "Hey, ChatGPT, I need my mattress gone on Thursday," and ChatGPT is going to help you book it without having to search. So positioning ourselves into that ecosystem is
Right.
coming down the pipeline. And then, one of the big missions that we have is to be a global brand.
Yeah.
In the near future, we have plans to go outside of the U.S. And be very
Mm.
strategic about that. So, yeah, we've got some really big things on the horizon for the company, and super excited about the future.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. I wish you well, and I'm very excited for you as well. I could say I know the Junk King. Not that that's a good
Yeah,
title, but whatever. It's just, like the opportunity is there. And like you said, you're positioned. I feel that you were positioned perfectly because you went through all the hurdles, years ago before AI even came into the picture. And now that it's here, it's like, okay, now we've got our partner. That's a lot. In fact, that's a prompt that some people have told me is interesting to use. I want you to be my partner in this business. What would you do? You have it thinking for you as a business
yeah,
partner. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's Chat GPT. So yeah, it's I
hmm
can go down that rabbit hole all day. It's like, okay, enough. I've got enough information now. I gotta go. I
yeah.
gotta put it into
The only
action,
problem
right, Greg? Go ahead.
That's right. Well, the only problem with ChatGPT though is it tells you all of your ideas are good ideas. So you got to really sit and think about it for a second before you
Right.
act on what
Yeah.
ChatGPT says.
Well,
Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah, or you ask it, okay, you think it's a good idea, but where are the holes? So get it thinking, but
yeah.
for sure. Well, Greg, if there was one message that you could share with the world, what would it be?
Uh, huh. um, there was one message. It would be just pace yourself, and you know, you don't have to microwave success. I mean, life is
Mm.
fleeting. So, um, outside of that, you know, uh, I always share my faith with anybody that I interact with. So that would also be a part of it as well.
Right. I love that. Don't microwave your success. That's
Hmm.
really a good line. Absolutely. And never quit your daydream, for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, I have one last question for you. If your
Yeah.
life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Oof. Yeah. Um, a guy who was never afraid to fail.
That's
I
perfect.
probably wish I had a better title for you, but off
No,
the
that's
cuff.
perfect. That's
Uh,
absolutely
yeah.
perfect. Believe me, it stumps a lot of individuals, but I love that people use their imagination and just say, okay, my life is an epic story. So it's absolutely perfect for your story. I love it. So thank you again, Greg, for joining us today and reminding us that disruption isn't about noise. It's about clarity, courage, and conviction. And when you blend technology with purpose, even junk removal can become a catalyst for change. And once again, for information and to connect with Greg or upload, you can go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages where you will find all of the media information and direct contact information. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath and look me up at janeapplegath.com, where you can like and subscribe and follow me on YouTube and all other streaming platforms. Sending you much love and gratitude. This is the Epic Vision Zone, where bold ideas meet extraordinary leaders.